Right, back with you tonight on In Focus. President Cyril Ramaphosa has come under fire for increasing the size of his cabinet when he announced his reshuffle last week. Political parties slammed Ramaphosa for not sticking to his commitment to decrease the size of the executive. President Ramaphosa has also been criticized for failing to tackle some of the country's most pressing challenges. For more on this now, we are in conversation with the CEO of Outa, Wayne Duvenhage, who will get us his thoughts on what the president is saying. Wayne, good evening. Good to have you, and thank you very much for your time tonight. President is saying he understands the criticism, but we are missing the point when we are, reducing it to the fact that more increase ministers is bad and decrease ministers is good. He says it's not as simple as that. We need to look broadly at the needs that the country has, specific needs at this particular time, and say that's how we must interpret how he has reshuffled his cabinet. What say you?
Yeah, look, it's a combination of both. I guess the real issue here is not so much about the size, but about the efficacy and the service delivery that comes out of the cabinet. So I think just at the high level, and being a bit facetious, but I don't think the public would mind if the cabinet was twice its size, if they got world-class services with the police, with the health care, education and transport, no potholes. So just think of it from that point of view. But of course, our cabinet has fluctuated even from in the low 20s in Madiba's years to 28 in Thabo Mbeki's years. It grew during Zuma's period up to 34, and Cyril Ramaphosa came in and reduced it down to 28. He has thrown a couple of extra positions in, and I guess he's saying, look, we're dealing with electricity crisis. We want to do more around planning and monitoring and evaluation. But the reality is that had the current ministers been accountable, especially those in DMRE and the DPE, with the electricity matters over the last years, we wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't be having to be dealing with monitoring and evaluation and electricity crisis. So I guess he is defending his point. There has been a higher cabinet in the past, but it really does come down to accountability, and that's what's lacking. So, you can throw people at the problem, but unless you fix the problem, people have lost faith in his cabinet.
Yeah. So he cites two areas which he believes makes the point that he's trying to make. He says at some point they thought it was a good idea to put together human settlements, water and sanitation, because, of course, human settlements, and then and when you set up a human settlement, you need water, you need sanitation. It would be good to put that under one department. But as it turns out, water and water resources in the country are scarce, not only scarce for human settlement, but scarce for business and other parts of industry. And so it was a good idea to separate the two, which means creating more ministries. Does he have a point?
Yeah, I think water is such a crucial issue that it was not right to put it into human settlements, and we can see now that's been taken out again. Energy is such a serious issue, and they went and combined it under Gwede Mantashe, and now they seem to be separating the two, although he's still under DMRE, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, but you've got electricity minister. So I guess they're going the same way with those positions. That is to get the specialization and the focus on those critical areas of the country's needs. But if you look at the number of ministries, now up to 30, there's a lot there. But I go back to the point, it doesn't help throwing people at the problem. You could reduce it, but really it's about the service delivery, and we're not getting enough of that, and that's the frustration.
Yeah. As far as you have looked at it, where are the possible areas of rationalizing as far as the ministries are concerned? He kind of said during the question and answer session that the Department of Public Enterprises is probably one that's going to go. But, of course, he's creating another structure called the Public Enterprises Company, which, one could argue is still another whole department that would need a CEO and whatever else, and a board and so on and so forth. So it's not really cutting down on the cost, but it's creating another entity.
Yeah, look, I don't think in a developing country like ours that we haven't got it too wrong. When you look at all the various ministries out there, from communications and digital technologies, but that's one department, for instance, which has failed dismally in the whole digital migration. Again, so service delivery is lacking. Cooperative governance and traditional affairs. I mean, COGTA's failing in the local government space. Correctional services and defence, or policing, you could try and put those two together. So I don't think there's too much argument in the 28 to 30 ministries we have. And you're quite right. I mean, I don't believe it's right even to cancel public enterprises, because we need to have a focus on state-owned entities and how they're managed. It's just that we haven't done it properly up until now. All our state-owned entities have failed and continue to fail. So unless we manage them properly like businesses and get rid of those that we don't need because they're too complex and too competitive for government to operate in, but they don't seem to want to go into those spaces. So it comes back down to delivery. It comes back down to rational decision making as opposed to rationalizing the number of ministries. I think we've got the right amount of ministries. We didn't need electricity. We needed DMRE and public enterprises to do their job. So, really let's talk about how do we get performance and service delivery out of our ministries. That's where the big failure is, implementation, and then to keep some of these ministers in those positions when they have failed completely, like DMRE, like the police, like public enterprises.
Yeah. Is the president here maybe mixing his ideas of what a capable state is, in terms of he believes a capable state would mean bring in more capacity, as opposed to a capable state is having the right capacity in place?
Yeah, that's you hit the nail on the head. Capable state is around ensuring that from the top you have strong leadership, strong expertise, excellent service delivery, all the scorecards that he spoke about. I mean, we have failed in transport over the years. PRASA has gone to, the dogs as far as its ability to serve the people's transport needs, the public, the poor in general. Whole public transportation, the road situation in this country, the list is long. The traffic, the driver's license debacles, the Sanral issues. I mean, it is a crazy situation to have the failure. So it's about having the right people in these positions, the competence levels, the high world-class standards that we should be demanding and producing for our people now 3 decades into democracy. We've got a lot of work to still do, but we're failing right now. So it's about the capacity of the people in those positions as opposed to throwing more people into the roles and still not delivering.
So the president has, of course, said, I've made this call to say Treasury and all the other departments come up with a plan for me in how we present a rationalized cabinet. What would be your suggestions?
Well, as I said, you might be able to cut 2 or 3 and combine them. But I don't think we have, the best we've been is about down to, just let's take out the first couple of years as we grew into our new democracy. The best we've been is about 27 departments. We've got 30 now. So if you take it back to 27 or 26 or 25 and rationalize and put, as I said, correctional services in with possibly the police, I don't know where else. Maybe take out public enterprises, but you've got to have a real good plan for our state-owned entities. Small business development is critical in a developing nation, so I wouldn't lose that. I would just up its efficacy. Sports, arts, agriculture, very necessary. I don't know if you can combine that with another department, so there are a couple of those, maybe with tourism. I don't think you're going to get away with about 25, 26 at best. But again, so rationalize that. Take out a little bit. I mean, our biggest issue here is that the increases of salaries in the public sector have gone up well above inflation. It's about 9% since 2005, when the average inflation rate has been 5%. So we've thrown money as well into the equation, and we have not got the service delivery. So it does come back to having the right people as opposed to trying to slim down the entire cabinet to try and save a few. It's about tripping over the rands to save a few cents. Let's be very careful about that. and stop throwing people at the problem now, and let's get efficacy into government and into cabinet.
Yeah. Some other suggestions is a much smaller cabinet would suggest that we should get rid of deputy ministers and maybe have some deputy ministers in particular complex ministries. But then again, one asks the question, what purpose do they serve? Because they don't really have executive power. So you look at the Ministry of Electricity, for example, they opted not to have a deputy minister there, and I even doubt it will be missed. But you look at cooperative governance and traditional affairs, you've got two deputy ministers. One is deputy minister for cooperative governance and deputy minister for traditional affairs, and a minister. I'm not quite sure what the thinking is there as far as the complexity of that ministry.
I think we could do away with a lot of the deputy ministers. You're quite right. They're more ceremonial. They do have a cost, and we don't get a sense that they assist too much. I guess putting in two deputies into cooperative governance and traditional affairs is to deal with those separate matters. And again, we are a developing nation, and we've got to deal with our traditional affairs. And I guess one minister has a bit of a challenge dealing with the complexities of both. So in one or two of those positions, deputy ministers are possibly necessary, not as many as we have and have had for a long time now. And let's just make sure that the ministries and the ministers that we have there with their advisors are giving us the best advice to run the ministries and to run the areas that they're responsible for. And this is the biggest issue, to ensure that there's good oversight. So the money that is allocated to transport in the provinces and local government gets to where it is. The money allocated to electricity for indigenous homes to become electrified gets there. 80% of it doesn't get there. And we keep throwing money and people at these problems that we have instead of having accountability. And that's our biggest problem. Look at the police services. Look at what we've done in health. Look at what we've done in education. And we really are floundering. And people hold on to their jobs. No accountability, no consequences.
Wayne Duvenhage, as always, I appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. CEO of Outa there, Wayne Duvenhage.